All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Tree House Brewing Company, and they are out of Charlton, Massachusetts, and this is their BBBrighttt Nelson. So they're calling this one an American Double IPA that comes in at 7.8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is approximately 6 weeks old. So let's just talk about the name. When it comes to these Treehouse beers where they have the first 3 letters of the name and then the last 3 letters all be the same, I don't know how to pronounce them on camera. So I'm just going to pronounce them however I can, and whatever happens, happens. We're going to have some more in the future, so we'll see. But yeah, anyway, this specific series, I've had the base one, I've had the Citra version, and now I got the Nelson version. Also, of the regular Bright, I've had the Bright and a couple other, I think I had Bright Galaxy as well. But yeah, I really enjoy Bright for one reason. Not the only reason, but one main reason, and that's because they're super crushable. 7.8%. I remember when I had the Citra and the base version of this, I could not believe they were 7.8%. They drank like they were 5. Not from a flavor standpoint, just from like a crushability or like just like drinkability. Like it was like halfway through the can, it was like 5 minutes, and I was just like, what? Why is this so easy to drink? Yeah, we'll see what happens here. They have a spiel on the back here. I'm not going to read it. They have a couple tasting notes and whatnot. But Nelson Sauvin is known for white wine, white grapes, gooseberry. Funny story when it comes to Nelson is once I started getting into craft beer and once Nelson became very prevalent when it came to hop forward beers, I actually went and searched out gooseberries because I've never had a gooseberry in my life, and I finally did. And they're kind of like more of like a tart kind of grape, if that makes sense. At least the ones I had the green ones. But now I kind of know what a gooseberry tastes like, so when I reference it in a glass of beer, I'm not bullshitting and being like, oh yeah, I totally had a gooseberry before, because I finally have. Anyway, I don't know, just rambling now. Let's crack it, get into the hashtag proper glassware and go from there. I'm just hoping that there is some like white wine, white grape thing going on. It's Nelson, you figure there should be. Now, one thing I also remember about Bright, at least just the regular Bright, but then also the regular version of this, is that it didn't have that like super murky kind of look to it. It was more of like kind of like a heady, where it has like a slight haze to it, or like a decent haze but not full on. So this kind of is a little bit more hazy than I remember it being. I don't know how it's gonna come off on camera, but that's straight up orange. It's like a very vibrant, not super bright, but vibrant orange. Murky, turbid, but not overly so. It doesn't have that like milky kind of look to it. Has about a 2 finger of this really nice fluffy looking head. I wouldn't even say soap sudsy. It just looks fluffy. It looks like it's gonna hang around for a bit. Yeah, it's a beautiful looking beer. It's good nose. It's funny because, the power of suggestion. The name of this beer is Nelson. I know what to look for in Nelson hops, and that happens in a lot of beer reviews where like, okay, there's mosaic. I'm going to get berries and dankness. Like you kind of understand the relation between tasting notes and what hops, right? With Nelson, like I said, white wine, white grapes, and gooseberry. The white grapes in this and the white wine definitely right off the top, unmistakable. You can smell them. I'd say more white wine than white grapes, almost like a slight acidic kind of nose. But then I'm getting a lot of citrus, like tangerine juice, dare I say Tangelo, the beautiful mix of a tangerine and a grapefruit. If you've never had a Tangelo, speaking of gooseberries, like I've mentioned my early days of my channel, I would say Tangelo, and people are like, do those even exist? And I'm like, yeah, if you ever see a Tangelo, get it. It's one of the juiciest citrus fruits you'll ever, when people talk about like juicy beers and whatnot, like that's how my relation to Tangelo is when it comes to hop forward beers, and they're super juicy. It's one of the juiciest fruits I've ever had in my life, and they do exist. So if you ever see them, grab yourself a Tangelo. But yeah, over top of that, white wine, white grapes. I wouldn't necessarily say gooseberry, but I'm getting a big blast of like pineapple underneath, almost like there was Galaxy or something here. But yeah, like freshly squeezed, like a tangerine orange juice, great, maybe like a ruby red grapefruit, like a sweeter type of citrus, like freshly squeezed citrus juice. It's a slight like resinous quality. I wouldn't say necessarily dank, maybe more of like an earthy tone to it. I'm getting a little bit of the malt character, which, a lot of hop forward beers nowadays I don't, but I'm getting this slight like almost crackery, bready, kind of generic kind of malt character. It's nice because I don't get it that often in beers. Yeah, it smells like it's going to be sweet, but not like overly so. I feel like there might be a nice balance here. Maybe it does smell like it will have like a mild to moderate bitterness, which is nice. Not a lot of, again, hop forward beers have that nowadays. I really do like what Nelson's bringing to the table here, though. It smells awesome. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. That's cool. So same thing's happening with this beer. This is stupidly crushable. Like, it's unbelievable how easy this fucking beer drinks. The body on this one at 7.8%, I'd say it's like lower side of medium to almost approaching medium. It's not, some of the beers I've reviewed recently that you'll see reviews of, like very green, very very hazy, not very hazy, what the fuck? Very green, very hazy. Those have bigger bodies around the same ABV. This does not. This has like medium to lower side of medium. It's a little bit thinner, which makes it infinitely more crushable and drinkable, like on the palate. The mouthfeel is, again, kind of different than a lot of these Tree House beers. Is it soft, smooth, and slightly creamy? Sure, but it has a little bit more carbonation in it. Yeah, the mouthfeel is not as robust or as crazy in terms of the smoothness that a lot of those. This drinks more like an older school, like this drinks more like something like a Heady is, right? Like an older school, like Vermont IPA or something, more so than like a straight on New England style for me. Right at the front of the palate though, it's that white wine, white grapes. I'm actually leaning towards more white grapes in the taste. It has more of a fruity quality than like a white wine, and I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't drink white wine. I've had it before. Like I've had, glasses of white wine and like Whitings and this and that, but I don't stock it in my house. I don't drink it. I don't drink white wine. So white grapes is more of like, more of a relatable type of tasting note, and I get white grapes in the taste. But that's right at the front of the palate. Right after that, freshly squeezed tangerine juice, orange juice, ruby red grapefruit, freshly squeezed citrus juice is what I get. That carries on through the palate. Halfway through to maybe like 3/4 of the way, so we'll say 2/3 of the way through, what happens is there is this noticeable, like resinous kind of earthy kind of quality from, I'd imagine, the hops. Yeah, it's unmistakable. It almost has like this earthy, just kind of like resinous hop quality to it. This finishes moderately dry with a mild to moderate bitterness. So I thought this was going to be, have a little bit more bitterness than most of the Tree House beers, and it does. And it has a nice dryness as well. This is an extremely balanced beer for Tree House. For me, like, I'm not saying Tree House beers aren't balanced, but a lot of them leaning a little bit more sweeter. This one definitely has a good balance to it. There's an underlying, like, really nice malt quality, a sweeter malt quality. Again, a little bit of bready, almost crackery type of malt component. It's just carrying all those hop flavors to you, but it's actually noticeable. Again, one of the few Tree House beers I've drank recently that have that. I just want to kind of drink the rest of this off camera. So not much more to say about it. Here's the thing. Even though I like the flavors in here and I like the balance and it's a really good beer, the flavors aren't like blowing me away, like to the point where it's like, oh my God, I got to scream from the rooftop. Like, I feel like very green and very hazy where there's a step above this. But I will say what this lacks for like straight on character, and it doesn't lack much, but you know what? Let me rephrase that. I feel like for what this lacks in character, for what I personally prefer, it makes up for in drinkability. So it's a really good beer. It's very fucking tasty, and I have no problem giving BBBrighttt Nelson from Tree House a low 4.25 out of 5 and go 4.2 out of 5. I think it's a fair score. What would it take to get higher? I don't really know. I think that's just how I'm feeling right now, right? Like a lot of times I'll be like, well, this beer gets a 4.25, but if it did this, it'd get a 4.5. If it didn't do this, it'd get a 4. I don't know. I just feel like a 4.2 out of 5 is appropriate score for this. It's a really good score. 4.2 is a fucking great score. But for me, like after having very green and very hazy and both of them kind of blowing my socks off, this one just falls short of those. So if I'm giving those 4.5s, 4.75s, talking about how great they are, yeah, this isn't nearly as good as them, but I do like the drinkability. Here's how I would picture this beer, at least if I live close to Tree House. This would be a fridge beer. And what I mean by that is if I want a beer that has some nice flavor, but it's super drinkable and it's not heavy on the palate, there's not too much going on, and it's not going to just crush my palate, I think this is a good one for that. 7.8% drinks like it's 6. I mean, it really hides the alcohol well, but yeah, 4.2 is a fair score. I think I'm going to stick there. I'm not going to go any higher, but 4.2 out of 5. If you had this one before, let me know what you think about it. I'm sure some people have grabbed this. If you've had anything within the series, let me know. Price and availability. I want to say, I don't remember the price point on this one because typically they will have 4-packs on their site and say the price of them. but I've got this in a mixed case of hop forward beers from them. It was about $5 a can, so I paid $5 for this can. I'd imagine this beer's probably in the $18 to $20 range, which is fair for what you're getting in availability. Tree House. If you don't go to one of their breweries or one of their locations that they have, I think they have 3 or 4. I should probably look this up instead of guessing, but I think they have 3 or 4 in Massachusetts, and they have 1, I believe, in Connecticut. But if their online ordering is fantastic, you just buy their beers, you pay for them, you go pick them up, everything's fantastic. It was so easy to do, seamless, the whole 9. But if you live in the New England area and you can, get down there, like I took a trip from Saratoga Springs, New York to the Deerfield location. It was about a 4.5 hour round trip. It was worth every single hour that I wasted driving was worth it, because a lot of these beers are delicious, including this one. So probably a longer review. I don't know the actual length on this one until after I edit and whatnot, but I apologize. Again, if you had this one before, let me know what you think about it. Appreciate everybody stopping by. To the next one. Cheers.